Okay, I'm going to get started because we're 4 minutes in. Welcome, everyone. If you've just tuned in, let me know where you are in the chat or where you're watching from. You guys are going to maybe see my desktop now. Yes, there's my vision board. Okay, cool. Let's start this presentation. All righty. Okay, so welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here and signing up for this. Obviously, the How to Get Unstuck, Deal with Disappointment, and Have a Success Breakthrough workshop. Yeah, this is very much what I specialize in. We're going to get into the dark night of the soul. I really specialize in that. I had my own one 2 years ago. So I know how frustrating these things can be. I know how debilitating disappointment can be, how frustrating it can feel to be stuck. And I really am passionate about like helping people essentially turn this type of period into their life into a spiritual breakthrough. And we'll get through that because yeah, we'll get to that. So your guidelines for this masterclass, I just want you to really dig into your courage today and take action along with me. If you were attracted to this masterclass, chances are you're feeling a little bit stuck, you're feeling a little bit disappointed. And if you're feeling stuck and disappointed and like things are just like a bit meh in your life, well, the universe is calling you to take a little bit more courage and maybe some inspired action. And your higher self, the universe, God, whoever guided you to this class with me right now. So we are all, every single person who's sitting here, all of us together, like we were guided to this place out of love and out of inspiration. And so I really want to encourage you to just use this time, just surrender to what I'm saying. I said here, lay all your ideas on a table to the side and have an open mind. So I'm sure like lots of people have done work on themselves, and sometimes I get clients and they're like, oh, I know that already. And I'm like, okay, well, how's that working out for you that you know it already? Because you're sitting here with me and it's still an issue. So obviously very kind about it, but the truth is maybe you know it, but maybe you haven't heard it the way I said it, and then that unlocks something in your mind. So whenever I do masterclasses, whenever I'm going into a new space to learn, I always say, I take all my ideas and I put it on a table. And the best news is that you can just pick up all your ideas if you don't like anything I said today and put them back in your head and take them off the table at the end of this, right? So there really is no pressure. You can take all your ideas back. Just making sure everyone can see this part. If everyone can nod, whoever's on camera, you can see this presentation. Everything's good, right? Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to ask you all to pick an emoji. And this emoji, it can be anything. It can be a smiley face. It can be the eggplant emoji, whatever emoji you want. And anytime you have an aha, or anytime I reach out to you as a group and say, does anyone agree? Who's relating to this? Does it sound familiar? You can just pop your emoji in the chat. So you'll use this exact emoji for the rest of the class. And I was once in a masterclass where they did this. I thought it was really brilliant. And I was on my laptop, so I didn't know how to send an emoji. So you can just pick like yeah or yes or yes or any like short word that just kind of feels, if you can't get your emoji. And then, yeah, like I said, put yourself out here in the chat if you can. The more interactive this experience is, the more you answer. Obviously I said I'm recording this, so I just want to be honest about that. Like other people might watch this. I'm not sending it out to the whole world, but people, just bear in mind that people might watch this. So I don't want you to feel like too exposed, but as much as you can, push yourself out there in the chat, answer when you can, write, if I ask questions, write in the chat. This really, again, if you're stuck, if you're feeling disappointed, if you're trying to work through to the next success like level in your life, you got to like do some things that make you feel uncomfortable. So, and I'm going to have a prize at the end of this. I'll draw names after the call because I don't think there'll be time. But for every person that does actually write actual sentences beyond the emoji, I'm going to put your names into the hat and draw the hat. We'll get to that. Actually, there's a slide for that. But yeah, there's a prize for whoever interacts in the chat the most. And yeah, just know this is a safe space. This is a safe space, but I am recording this. So I just wanted to be transparent about that. Okay, here are the gifts. Okay, so the first, it's a 275-minute quantum belief rewire session. So one of each that I'm giving out. And a quantum belief rewire session is an extremely powerful session. I actually had a friend, I'm going to read this to you guys right now. A sort of friend, I worked with her at a restaurant once. She signed up for one 2 or 3 months ago. It was part of my launch special. And she sent me a message yesterday. I messaged her about something because she was looking for a house to stay. She said, I actually wanted to message you today. So this was some divine timing. I quit my job yesterday and I'm heading home to do all the things that align with my life's purpose and help me stay connected to my true self. Going to start off with my yoga teacher training and see where and how I go. I couldn't be more excited. Thank you so much for our session. It did change my life in the biggest way. Mental, what 1 hour can do, huh? Hope you're amazing, Ash. Chat soon. So that's a pretty cool review. And that is how powerful this quantum belief rewire session is. You really get to meet your inner critic and rewire it and give it a new job. I mean, look at that. She was working on the yacht. She was like making it a ridiculous amount of money. And she had this calling to be a facilitator and work in the healing space based on, a lot of stuff that she's been through in her life. So yeah, so basically that's the prize. And there's a gift for whoever posts more than an emoji in the chat. And there's also a gift for taking a picture of you in this masterclass, or take a picture of the laptop, or however you want to do it. Just share that you're in this masterclass and post it on your story and then tag me, the Alchemized Spirit. That's me. Cool. Okay. So let's get into it. The structure today, part 1, we're going to talk about the long dark night of the soul and the hero's journey. Then part 2 is understanding the stuck in the change cycle. And then part 3 is dealing with disappointment and when it comes and arrives in our lives. I need to keep an eye on the chat. Let's see. Okay, cool. Put that to the side. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ashley van der Hoven, and I'm a certified quantum life and NLP coach. And I help multi-passionate women with big dreams to get unstuck, overcome self-doubt and disappointment, and find the actual clarity, direction, and action to build and manifest a career that is financially and spiritually fulfilling. I feel like this is so apt. I wrote this about a week ago. I finally honed down on this. And from what I just read from this client's review, I'm like, oh yeah, that is what I do, of course. So yeah, that's what I do. These are my qualifications, quite a few of them. I do Reiki, NLP success coach. I have a hypnotherapy certification, a level 1. I did my 200-hour teacher training. I've studied economics and finance along the way. I was an actress as well. I guess I didn't put that on there. And I taught drama and play therapy at a rehab for a year when I lived in Joburg, which was absolutely amazing. Very, very cool. So what makes me and my work unique and different? I use a combination of inner critic mastery, subconscious mind reprogramming work, and spirituality. So those 3 things. And this long dark night of the soul is actually your spiritual awakening. And I assist you through that with real world psychology. There's something called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's actually just a technique to kick your inner critic in the butt. Subconscious mind work, and some spirituality that some might call woo-woo or some might call quantum. All three of these things transform your energy at the mind, body, and spirit level. And once your energy is transformed, your behavior follows, and then so do the manifestations. And that's what I help. So the hero's journey. Okay, let's get into this. Let me just have a sip of coffee. How's everyone doing? Okay, the hero's journey. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the hero's journey is something that a guy called Joseph Campbell came up with, and it was the early 1900s, and he was actually studying mythology, and he was working really closely with storytelling from Native American tribes. And then it caused him to really look at like the stories that we tell about people and in cultures, and yeah, this whole essence of storytelling. And he came up with the hero's journey, which is a 12-step hero's journey to enlightenment, to whatever. And it's used in every single movie that you've probably ever watched. They use the hero's journey. So writers use it a lot. I watched Moana last night in preparation for this today, because I've been dying to watch Moana. And when I was putting my slides together, they mentioned Moana a lot. So we're going to refer to a few movies: Harry Potter, The Lord of the Rings, The Lion King. All these movies really use this hero's journey. Star Wars, never watched Star Wars, sorry about that. But all of these movies use the hero's journey. And it's going to be really impactful to understand for you today if you are experiencing the dark night of the soul, or if you are any actually person who's spiritual and on their journey, to understand this hero's journey and where you are in it, and to understand where you're going. It's extremely powerful. So this is Joseph Campbell, the guy that came up with the hero's journey. And he said, the hero's journey always begins with the call. One way or another, a guide must come to say, look, you're in sleepy land, wake, come on a trip. There's a whole aspect of your consciousness, your being, that's not being touched. So you're at home here? Well, there's not enough of you there, right? Because usually we don't want to go anywhere. We're like, no, we're safe here. Well, there's not enough of you there. And so it starts the hero's journey. Interesting. This has been happening. Give me 1 second, guys. Noticed this morning. Just going to edit my Canva presentation as we go. Here it is. I don't know why some of my pictures, my logo was also missing. I was just like, okay, I can deal without the logo today on every single page. Okay, so here's the hero's journey. And we start at the top here, step 1. So step 1 is the ordinary world. And you're living your everyday life. Everything's familiar, it's comfortable. And you have a limited awareness that there's any problem in your life. Notice how it says that there's a limited awareness of a problem, not there is no problem. It's just a limited awareness, like you're not sure, but underneath you there's like this inkling that there's, you know, something's a bit off, but I'm comfortable, you know. And you might feel a little bit easy or dissatisfied, but you're pretty good. Yeah. Step 2 is the call to adventure. Depending on the hero, this call to adventure it could be external, such as a catastrophe happening in the world around you. So in Moana, Moana, such a beautiful movie. She's living on an island with this family, and all their food starts to die, right? By the way, her calling happened when she woke up. When she was born, the ocean called her. But it took her until she was, I don't know how old she is in most of the movie, maybe 16, 17, whatever. Took her all that time to actually get the call to adventure. But basically all the trees started dying in the on the island, the coconuts and the fish were dying and everything. So it could be, or it could be an internal problem, such as becoming aware of a deep satisfaction with some aspect of your life. And after you've been exposed to this information, you feel completely called, the hero feels completely called to do something about it. And you're challenged to take action and step into the unknown. And so in your life, what are you feeling called to do if you're at this stage? And remember, this calling could be something that's already happened or is happening now. Then we get to step 3, which is the refusal of the call and the reluctance to change. No, we're not going. So first, the hero fails to answer the call. They're afraid of what it will take. They don't think they can do it. They think it's going to be too hard. They feel insecure. They feel inadequate. How could I do that? Moana actually goes beyond the reef the first time, and then she gets drowned and spat back like onto the island, and she's really scared. So yeah, you feel inadequate, you feel insecure, and the familiar life of comfort calls them to resist this new adventure. And you hesitate, or they hesitate, and they become increasingly aware that there are real consequences though if you don't act, right? So it's this refusal of the call, but also realizing, flip, if I don't follow this path, I'm going to like potentially regret this for the rest of my life, or I'm going to be so miserable for the rest of my life, or this will be the moment where I decided not to go after that thing. And that's yeah, heartbreaking. And so in your life, what fears or resistance did you experience after becoming aware of the problem? And what additional situations or information were you presented with that further helped you to see what was at stake? Like, what were you going to lose? And maybe if you're at this moment right now, think about that. Like, what do you stand to lose if you don't actually go off and follow the call? So step 4, meeting with the mentor and the overcoming of reluctance. Okay, so in most stories, the hero meets with a guide and a helper, and that helper provides vital advice and points them in the right direction. So for Moana, her grandmother was always by the ocean. Her grandmother showed her this more information about how the island used to be voyages, and the grandmother really got her to go out and go after this call from her heart to the ocean. And the timing of the appearance, like of the guide, varies. And so if the hero refuses the call, often a helper of some type appears to nudge them into answering the call. And sometimes the guide continues to return to the hero to keep them to like move on with their journey. But the guide never saves the hero. Very important. Never saves the hero. And the hero, because the hero doesn't need to be saved, right? And this is where you might meet a coach, you might read a book, you might listen to a podcast, you might have never thought of Jim Carrey your whole life, and then suddenly you land up on a YouTube video and Jim Carrey is talking about how he went after his dreams. I'm not talking about myself, just kidding. And suddenly you're just like, oh my gosh, this is the knowledge, like this is and you just, someone comes along, maybe this is your moment now with me. I had that. Something I need to say about the hero's journey is that it happens multiple times in your life. Your life is not just one hero's journey. You can have many hero's journeys, because I'm sure you're a very passionate person and life is going to give you many different things to overcome. So I had a hero's journey with acting. Maybe I'm still in it. And I had a hero's journey with spiritual life coaching. And those two things kind of overlapped even. So I've had many mentors show up to show me the way. And so in your life, who've been your guides? Who's popping up into your head? What book, what podcast? These are important things to recognize, because this is how you stay inspired as well. So step 5 is crossing the threshold. I'm just going to quickly make sure that everyone's good in the chat. I think so. Yeah. Okay. So finally crossing the threshold from the ordinary world, as you can see here, into the special world. This is step 5. And this is where you really commit to change. And this is the pivotal moment when the hero leaves the ordinary world and steps into the journey in a way that they can't turn back. This is the decision point. This is when the hero begins their quest. Okay, so in your life, what decision point have you experienced? What is the threshold? What is this pivotal moment? And imagine that you step from your old life into your new life. What would be that actual step? Maybe you need to take it now. What is that actual step? What is it? The first thing that popped into your mind when I said that, or maybe it popped into your gut and your stomach because it scared the shit out of you. That's your step. You don't have to take it now today. Don't worry. But just keep that in mind for the next couple of months or years until you decide to take it. Just kidding. We're going to talk about that. Okay. So step 6. That was step 5. Step 6, test allies and enemies. Gosh, I feel like the hero's journey to me is just always so like, what the fuck? Do you know how much energy and courage and fear like you have to overcome just to cross the threshold, right? Like, I'm gonna do this, and then only do the real trials and tribulations start to happen, right? We're only halfway through. But it's a beautiful thing like to acknowledge, right? Because this whole process is a process of becoming who you were meant to be. It's a process of becoming who you're meant to be. I wanted to be an actress since I can remember. And that dream was so huge. I could have not picked a harder, bigger dream. It's like so, it's not impossible, but it's a big dream. It's a big dream, and there's a lot out of my control and whatever. I really truly believe, and I've parked the dream for now because this is my purpose. Spiritual life coaching is so much my purpose, and I'm still working through my own stuff. I don't know if it's the only purpose or more of a purpose than acting. So I've just parked acting for a year while I do this work. But I truly believe that my dream of acting was not about me actually achieving my dream. It was about me becoming the person that I needed to be, the true me. Because acting brought up every single freaking fear that I ever had of not being good enough, of like the fear and the anxiety of putting myself in audition rooms over and over again. Like I had such audition anxiety, having people sit there and watch you in like your craft, messing up in audition rooms and walking out and having to feel like I'm still worthy, sabotaging along the way. Like I used to party a lot. I used to be a big party girl. I sabotaged a lot in the name of my dream. All of these things, like it's almost like it wasn't about the dream. It was about who I would become along the way, because those things forced me to become worthy, right? To overcome self-doubt, to believe in myself despite everything that was in front of me. Acting, you're rejected 95% of the time. You have to go on, out of 100 auditions, you might hear back from 5 and you might get the job once. And so that takes a certain type of person and mindset to actually endure that. And I learned that because I was on my hero's journey. And when I mastered that, I was almost like, I don't actually know if I want to act. I want to do this, because I became who I truly wanted to be. So just on a note of the hero's journey. So step 7 is, the test allies and enemies. I mean, that's pretty, lots of trials and tribulations. So you're experimenting with the first change. You just said yes to this calling. You finally committed to the change. And obviously there are a lot of trials, right? And the whole, like I just said, the whole purpose of this quest is for you to learn, grow, and become the hero, right? And in order for that to happen, you have to face obstacles and challenges, and you have to overcome them in tests of strength and will. And you face the new rules of this new world, right? It's scary. And so in your life, what obstacles or challenges have you faced or are you facing? And how has your strength of commitment and will been tested? So approach to the innermost cave. This is step 7. this and the ordeal are our long dark night of the soul, right? I'll tell you a bit more about it, but this is the turning point when the hero finally goes all in, and they reach a point when they're 100% certain of what must be done, and they're ready to accept the risks and possibility of failure. And the second decision point happens when the hero approaches the innermost cave. The innermost cave is like within themselves, and it can also be entering the hero's darkest places, the innermost conflict and the demons. And that's why at the end of it, you know, there's this decision and accepting the big, like going for something more. But the long dark night of the soul is going into yourself, and really, we'll talk about it more in depth because that's what I specialize in, but it can last long. It can be months, it can be years. And it really is like reflecting, like, why did I decide to do this? For me, this happened around 30. Okay. So my tests, allies, and enemies for my acting was all throughout my 20s. And then I came toward my 30s and there was COVID, and I didn't work for a year and didn't have money coming in, and moved cities to Joburg, couldn't get an agent because it was the middle of COVID. I was exhausted. I had so much financial pressure. A lot of other stuff happened to me that year. And I was literally like turning 30, and I was like, what the fuck have I done with my life? What have I done with my life? I went after this big dream of acting. It hasn't worked out. I thought I'd have my Oscar by now. I thought I was going to go to my 10-year reunion in a helicopter. I didn't do that, but I did meet the love of my life at my 10-year reunion. Shout out, because he's actually on this call. I had a whole, meltdown, and it lasted months, and I was anxious and I was depressed, and I was trying desperately to get work as an actress, find an agent, do all these things. And I couldn't. Nothing was manifesting on the outside because I was literally like dead inside. And the most painful part of that whole year was that I was so attached to outcomes for my worth. Like I could only feel happy or worthy if these things were happening on the outside of my life. And the universe literally took everything away from me. Like I had nothing, no accomplishments, no to-dos, nothing to validate my worth. And so I crumbled into a million pieces. And that's when the depression set in. And then it got even worse because I was depressed and anxious. So I'd wake up in the morning without a job, have one thing to do on my to-do list, like send an email to this agent to see if they want to sign me. And I didn't even have the motivation or the self-belief or whatever I needed to send that one email. And then what happened? I berated myself for it. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like I have one thing to do. You don't even have a job. You don't even have a job, and you have one thing to do, and you can't even do that. Like, what is wrong? And this was my mind for a couple of months, and I worked my way through it. Thank God. And I'll tell you more about that as we get there. But that's the dark night of the soul. You're forced to go in. You're forced to retrieve your own soul. So that's approaching the innermost cave, being in the innermost cave. And the ordeal is the ultimate test. So in movies, this part is called the climax, and it's the peak of the action, and the hero must face their greatest fear or face their most terrifying foe. And one way or another, the hero must face death, whether it's literal or figurative. So think of like a death of an ego, and they use the skills and experiences that they picked up along the journey through the challenge and their innermost cave in order to face this final challenge. And it must be done. And for me, that looked like at the end of that year, we had Christmas, and we're in South Africa, it's our summer holiday. our summer vacation, and we have 3 weeks off. And I was having such a hard time because everyone was going on summer vacation. And I was just like, I don't deserve a vacation. Like, what have I done this year? Never mind the fact that I've moved from New York to Sedona to LA to Johannesburg and Cape Town back in South Africa. And all these financial things that happened to me, all the stress, you know, I didn't have a job. I couldn't work in the US, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I don't deserve a rest. And then luckily I had a mentor at the time, spiritual mentor, and she was like, you need to rest. You deserve it. Because yes, you haven't produced anything, but you've been trying, like you've been emotionally burning yourself out. So I took the rest and I came back into 2021 with COVID, actually. Like, that's how much the universe wanted me to rest. Like, bitch, you get COVID and you rest. And I don't know, something in me was just like, okay, 2022, I'm going to give it one last shot. And this was my ordeal. And I was like, I stumbled upon a mentor arrived at that time. It was a manifestation course for actors. And I was like, I'm going to throw everything that I have into this course and into this coach. And I'm going to give it one last shot. And the happy ending of that story was, since I started that course, 6 weeks into the course, within 6 weeks, I booked a TV series on our biggest broadcasting network in South Africa, SABC1. I booked a lead in a feature film that's on our Showmax, our Netflix. It's called Showmax. And the director had just won a SAFTA for Best Director, which is our version of an Oscar. I booked 3 commercials, and then I got paid for a commercial I did 2 years ago, all in the space of 6 weeks, from me deciding to go all in and fix my mindset and manifest this work. 6 weeks. Didn't work for a year. It was wild. Anyway, so that's the ordeal. So in your life, what death will you face? And what skills and experiences have you picked up along your journey that will serve you now? Okay, I'm going to try and get through this super quick. I am interweaving my story here. So step 9 is the reward and seizing the sword. So like I just said, I finally got my reward. Okay. I booked all that work. I manifested all that work. I fixed my mindset. I was like, yeah, reprogramming my mind and all the things. And finally, the heroes defeated the enemy, which was myself, or acting, who knows. Survived, overcame, but more than anything, the hero is transformed like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. And out of the ashes of death rises a phoenix, which is symbolic of rebirth. So this is this part of the hero's journey. And the hero receives a reward in some form, whether it's recognition or power or wisdom or reconciliation or a treasure. But in the end, no matter the price, the true reward is always the glory of personal transformation itself. And I can't say that more. Yeah, that is the gift. That is the gift, is the personal transformation. It's almost like the universe dangles this dream in front of you. Mine was like acting and the glitz and the glam. That was like dangling a carrot, trying to entice me to actually do the work to become the person that's worthy of that thing. And then what happened to me was, once I became worthy of that thing, I decided, oh my gosh, I actually don't think I want this. I want to be a spiritual life coach. I want to help other people do this. I don't know if acting is really for me, which is another thing to learn in your long dark night of the soul. You're allowed to change your mind about your dreams and what you wanted to do. You're allowed to get there and decide that this is not actually for me. There are a lot of things about acting that I love, but there are also a lot of things I hate. Like on the weekends, I'll have an amazing weekend planned with family and friends and whatever, and I'll on Friday I'll get a message from my agent, here, you've got 3 auditions for Monday and here's 30 pages of scripts to learn, and I've just got to throw my entire weekend away just for an audition, not even for a callback, not even for, and I don't get paid for the audition. And that's something I really don't like about acting. And maybe actually now, yes, that was my dream, but now I'm like, you know what? I actually want my weekends, and I actually don't like that style, that about my industry. Like lots of people get 9-to-5 jobs and decide this is actually not for me. You're allowed to change your mind. Okay, the road back. The road back is about, so you can't enjoy and relax and enjoy the thrill of the victory for too long. The hero feels another call to return home and to share the spoils of the reward, or bring whatever they learn to those they care about, right? So that's very apt for me right now. Yeah. The journey is not over. And with reward in hand and transformation in heart, the hero charts the path back, but the road can be filled with additional risks or dangers. And a villain might appear who seeks to steal the reward, and the hero might have to face their shadow again and their additional roadblocks. So, but now you're transformed, right? You're a very different person at this stage. So yes, there are other challenges, and that's something to note. If you're here, the universe is going to send you tests again, just to make sure that you really are transformed and that you really have gone through that process. And so for you, what does returning home represent to you? And how are you going to learn how are you going to use what you've learned or accomplished, if this is where you are, to help others or help your family? Or, you don't have to be, like, I became a coach, so it's obvious, but you don't have to look at it that way. And then step 11 is the rebirth. So this is the moment the hero crosses the final threshold, and it's a final test of the hero's strength and true growth. And it's their moment to demonstrate their mastery and step into their power. And this battle pushes the hero to defeat their limitations and release their old self once and for all. And they finally return a hero. And so in your life, after transforming and defeating your foes or reaching your goals, what final battle may you need to face, if this is where you are? And then we've got the last one. This took a bit longer than I expected, but it's all good. Actually, no, we're right on time. Returning with the elixir. So this is the last one. And this is where the hero returns from their ordinary world, a changed person, and they'll have something to share with people back home. And this could be a solution to a problem, a new perspective on life, a resource, or some sort of resolution with some key players. Sometimes the hero faces doubters or is even punished for their journey. Sometimes that happens, but in the end, the hero always shares what they've learned or acquired for those who they did it all for. And because that's what makes them a hero. So in your life, what is the elixir you're bringing back from your journey, and who are you going to share it with? So that is the hero's journey. And this is, if you have landed in this masterclass with me, if you are following my content, you are a spiritual being, you have some kind of understanding that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. This will always be your journey in life for the many different things that you do. You could become a mother or a father, and this will be your hero's journey for that part of your life. This will always be the journey. And so I want to know, maybe you can pop it in the chat. If you feel called, where are you on this journey? Where do you think you are? And you don't have to write in the chat, but just consider, like, how does it impact you knowing where you are? Does this make you feel better? You're like, oh shit, okay, I'm in the long dark night of the soul, but it feels really good to know that, like, better things are coming. Or maybe you're at the call and you're like, shit, I'm being called and now I have to step up and I still have 8 steps to go. Yeah. Where is the chat? Sorry. Oh, here it is. It's hiding. Oh, this is awesome, guys. I'm just reading through the chat real quick. even better than a helicopter. Yes, meeting the love of my life. Exactly. I never thought about that. I never put those two together. That's where I am, coming out of that death on the inside. Beautiful destiny. What a great place to go, be in. Kate. Yes, Kate has been through, it all. We are so capable. We're just on our hero's journey. And all we have to do is stay committed to being on the hero's journey. If you're a good soul and you're here and you want to learn and you want to grow, just being, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff about how to move through it gracefully, but you just have to surrender to the universe and just go on the journey and be guided by your heart, what happens when things change and then you have a massive turnaround and then you start feeling stuck again. Yeah, Kate, so that's this is why I say it doesn't happen always 12 steps, and sometimes it overlaps, and you can go back and you can get stuck because you have to relearn another part of your life. So that's really, really normal. And that's why sometimes maybe if you feel like that's happening, you might still be in the trials and tribulations phase. So that trials and tribulations, I think it's step 6 or 7, that can happen. I mean, that happened to me for 10 years, and I could have thought I was somewhere else, but looking back, I realized I was still in trials and tribulations. And we can have, your health can have a hero's journey, and then your career can have a hero's journey, and they can be at different stages, if that makes sense. So I could have mastered, or your love life. How many people have they're nailing the career and they're returning with the elixir, the career, and they're doing their purpose and whatever, but their love life is maybe in shambles. So it can happen at different times. Yes, The Alchemist is amazing. It's so good. Makes me feel more aware of what needs to be done and gives me clarity. Yes, I'm so glad. Destiny between 10 and 11. Love it. Oh, that's a great spot. Cool, Nia. I feel like I'm in multiple heroes' journeys at once. Yes, exactly what I was just saying. I feel like I don't want to listen to this call. I'm afraid to step into the unknown. It's scary. It is scary. It is really, really scary. So we're going to get into that now. And I'm just going to ask Andrew Keeney for you to just sit with that. You don't need to do anything crazy about it just yet. And it's beautiful that you can at least acknowledge that. Okay, so let's continue. So the long dark night of the soul, what exactly is it? So I told you it was steps 6 and 7, and I've told you a little bit about mine. And it's basically a total effing shedding of everything that you once thought you were or wanted, right? It's a complete identity shift. And like I said to you, I'm still working through mine because I wanted to be a coach, and I've had a lot of pain, actually. Even though I'm stepping into my calling as a coach, I'm having a lot of pain shedding this identity of being an actor. I don't even know if I want to shed it. Something tells me I'm going to make it, or something big's going to happen in my 40s or my 50s. It's now time for old actresses. So something tells me haven't given up on it. I've parked it, but even doing that was extremely painful and confusing for me. And how much effort must I put into my coaching business, and how much, and what about acting, and what are my agents going to say, and how do I introducing myself to people now and being I now say I'm a spiritual life coach, and then I'm oh, I was an actress. And then I'm was I an actress? No, but I'm still an actress. It's bizarre. Identity is a very bizarre thing, the way that we attach ourselves, definitions to ourselves. And it seems so simple, but when you really start to shift, that shift starts to happen to you, it throws everything off, and we question everything because it's a part of your ego dying, right? Your ego wants certainty. Your ego wants to say, you know, things, this is black, this is white. And when that starts to like shed itself, it's extremely disconcerting for us. So I said, it feels like it's earth-shattering uncertainty. But the good news is that it's in a soul emergence and upgrade. That's why it's the dark night of the soul, because your soul is in the dark and you're going to bring the soul to light. And it's an upgrade of that. And we're being forced to find our true selves. And it's a call to go within so that you can go forward. And it's a call to go somewhere you haven't gone before. So you have to be someone you haven't been before. But that someone is your truest self. Just let that land. So signs, you're in the dark night of the soul. You feel completely lost, powerless, and hopeless. You're no longer interested in things you once loved. Your definition of success is not the same anymore. So a lot of people like, it's not, you don't only have a long dark night of the soul when things don't work out. Sometimes all the things did work out, but you thought you would feel differently. And you're like, shit, I ticked all the boxes. I did what my parents said I must do. I went to university and I got the degree and I got the job and I thought I would feel different, and I'm actually miserable. And so on the surface, success, that looks like success, but emotionally, you don't feeling success. So your definition of success changes. You're having physical symptoms you've never had before. People get sick. People get really sick. Their bodies shut down. I, got anxiety and depression. My hormones got thrown completely out. I'm still trying to balance all my hormones. You're having really intense dreams as a sign. I always have really intense dreams, so that doesn't help me, but perhaps you're going through this. You're connecting with your inner child. So this is where you start to when you start to do the work, this is like the yearnings that you start to get, and where you start being guided is you start connecting with your inner child, because you start connecting to that part of yourself that you were before you embarked on the hero's journey, or when you got the call. It starts getting you to look back and tend toward your inner self from that time. And despite everything, this is definitely not in the depth of the darkness, but when you start rising out, you feel more free and authentic. So actually, I feel like you get pockets of this. So I had days where I would use music a lot to try and help me through my depression and dark night of the soul and everything. And I would cry. I cried to, the Higher Love song with Whitney Houston and Kygo, bring me a higher love. I would play that song in my living room in front of the mirror, and I would dance and I would just bawl my eyes out, and I would feel so loved and so held and so guided by the universe, and so free and so authentic. But then that would last, I'd cry for a couple of minutes, and then the feeling would last a couple of hours, and then the next day I'd wake up in depression again. So know that that's normal. Oh, all these freaking, let's see here. Hi, Kylie. Oh, Kylie's here. Amazing. She will hold your hand and guide you along the process. Thank you. And say, okay, I forgot what this is. Oh, this is a quote. Let's see. Maybe it's not supposed to be here. No, it's this one. Ugh. Does anyone know why these photos are not showing? Let's see here, quick. Okay, maybe they're not meant to show. You know what? Universe doesn't want me to read those. Okay, so The Long Dark Night of Soul, or Dark Night, this is Carolyn Myss. She is amazing. She's one of my favorites. And she says, the dark night of the soul is a journey into light, a journey from your darkness into the strength and hidden resources of your soul. And what I really wanted to do with all these quotes, let me just see if I can get these other ones, because I want you to know everyone goes through this. Well, most people go, anyone who's like on a spiritual journey goes through the dark night of the soul. And it could happen now or it could happen later. And whatever skills you learn and tools you learn now to navigate it, you will use later. I don't know what life has in store for all of us, but I do know as you get older, shit gets real. We lose people, friends get divorced, we get divorced, God forbid. You know, we have children, then we watch our children go through their dark night of the souls. And if you don't have the tools, if you haven't alchemized your own dark night of the soul and learned how to do that and learned the tools, like you're gonna crash when things get really, really, really fucking real later. So here, we're gonna add this one in. Sorry about these pictures, guys. Yes, Taylor. Okay. So the dark night of the soul is when, this is Ram Dass, very famous spiritual leader. The dark night of the soul is when you've lost the flavor of life, but have not yet gained the fullness of divinity. So it is that we must weather. So it is that we must weather that dark time, the period of transformation when what is familiar has been taken away and the new richness is not ours yet. I really love that. I really, really love that. Thank God I found the picture. The dark night of the soul is not merely having a bad day or even a week. The dark night is a long, pervasive, and very dark experience. If you're experiencing the dark night of the soul, you will constantly carry around with you a sense of being lost. Your heart will constantly, in some shape or form, be in mourning. And this is because you long deep down to feel the presence of your soul again. That's what that is. And it's sad, but that's all that yearning is. It's the yearning to feel the presence of your soul, your true soul, your authentic self. And then we read these, and there can be no rebirth without a dark night of the soul, a total annihilation of all that you believed in and thought you were. Okay, so here are some dark night reframes for you. And notice if any of these really help to just reframe what you're going through if you are, and I encourage you to write it down. So what if your life's ordeals are paths to purification rather than mere punishments for our unconscious actions? Okay. What if we regard the dark times of our life as rite passages to rip off obsolete parts of our identity? I'm going to read that again. What if we regard the dark times of our lives as rite passages to rip off obsolete parts of our identity? What does that mean? Parts of our identity that don't work for us. So the dark night of the soul shows the shadow, and it shows all our limiting beliefs. It's all, for me, it was like the I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and I'm not worthy unless I am achieving and accomplishing things. That was the obsolete parts of my identity that I had to rip off. But I had to face it and go through it, and it had to get so freaking painful that I only had the opportunity, like the option to rip it off and go through it. What would happen if our intention to end the dark night is replaced with the intention to contemplate it from a place of wisdom and awareness? What would happen if, rather than pretend to expel your demons by repressing them, this is the shadow, and therefore making them stronger, you sit down and have a cup of tea with them? I love that one. So that's shadow work. Like that's what you do in shadow work. That's what I do with my clients. We sit down and we have a cup of tea with the demons in the shadow, rather than repressing them. And that's, Carl Jung spoke about the shadow and how we tuck it into the back of our mind and we never look at it, and then it has more power over us. Have you considered that darkness is darkness just because you turn your back at it, rather than lighten it with the eyes of your consciousness? So I'm going to leave these. I'm going to send these questions to you as well, to everyone who is on the email list. I'm going to leave that so that we can not go too over today. Okay, so the stuck change cycle. I spoke about being stuck, and this can happen at any step of the journey, right? You can land up stuck on a certain level for a long time, and essentially change is a difficult process. And many well-intentioned people have changes they want to make in their lives, but they get stuck repeating the same change cycle over and over again. And it's very familiar because we all have experienced this. And I'm going to be real right now and say that I'm currently in my own one with smoking. Okay. Yes, I smoke. Stupid. It's the dumbest thing I do. I don't drink. So I feel like it's just something which we'll get into when it comes to not wanting to let go of certain things. So I'm going to reference my own. I'm not sure how to get the chat. Let me just double check on the chat quick. Now that I've outed myself. Cool. Yes. Okay. So you're discontent, right? You're growing increasingly unhappy and discontent with an area of your life. You hang in there, you tolerate, ignore, repress, or otherwise deal with the circumstance because it's comfortable and it's familiar and you fear change, right? So I'm 100% discontent with smoking. Like sometimes I enjoy a cigarette, sometimes I don't. It's like I come back and then I can't work properly because I feel like shit, and then I have to brush my teeth every time and wash my hands. And yeah, it's super annoying. Then you have a breaking point. Eventually your level of discontent builds high enough that you can't take it anywhere more. You reach a breaking point either through exhaustion or due to a dramatic event occurring that triggers the breaking point. So I'm sure that speaks for itself. You know, addicts hit rock bottom. I feel like my problem right now is that I'm actually managing the smoking really well, that I'm not letting it get so bad that I'm like, this has to stop. I almost need to like just smoke 10 back-to-back cigarettes so that it's that bad and then I don't go back. But yeah, you reach a breaking point. Then you make a decision. You decide you're ready to change and you declare that you're no longer going to tolerate this undesirable situation. And you take your first step toward change, giving you, unfortunately, usually a short-lived sense of hope. Okay, once you make the decision. And it's hard to make the decision. So, but once you do, you're like, yes, I can do this. But then after a very short amount of time, or even immediately, after your feelings of empowerment, you encounter fear and you become uncomfortable and anxious about the idea of changing, and you doubt your decision. And suddenly both options look bleak, right? The option of going back to where you were looks shitty because you just were discontent and reached a breaking point. But the option of changing also looks really, really, really hard. So both options look bleak. And you feel a bit helpless and empty. Then you have amnesia. So what happens is the fear of change grows strong enough that it makes your original situation look much better than you originally thought. And you perceive the original situation as less anxiety producing than the change. You think there's less anxiety if I just go back. There's way more difficulty and anxiety having to change. You're used to the previous situation, it's comfortable, it's familiar. Think of when you go back to an ex, if you've ever gone back to an ex, like, you know, you think, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad, even though it was 100% bad. Also, it's become part of your identity. So you resist letting go and you temporarily forget why you wanted to change it so badly. And then you backtrack. So most people choose to go back or stick with the item they wish to change. So you essentially talk yourself out of changing. So usually to break this cycle, people use two methods, either extreme pain or self-honesty. And with extreme pain, the breaking point which was that second step, becomes severe enough to push through the change cycle. So, God forbid, but like if my lungs, which has happened before, I get like bronchitis, from smoking, and that forces me to stop. Usually it's some kind of extreme circumstance, like major financial loss, job loss of a loved one, the ending of a relationship, a severe accident, or a nervous breakdown. And this is because your higher self knows what you truly want and will lead you to it. So if you resist changing long enough, something will happen in your life that will put you in a position where you have no choice but to change. And usually the universe will do that for you as well. That's like, I've experienced that so many times where, the universe will. I know like people in relationships that don't want to get out of it. And I just spoke to this woman the other day, and eventually she was asking the universe to help her because she knew it was a toxic relationship and she wanted to get out of it, but she just didn't have the balls. And so she actually asked the universe to help her. And now her ex has run off with a 27-year-old. She's 42 and cheated on her. And I was like, yeah, that's it's pretty much how it works. And now she's heartbroken and she feels betrayed. And I'm like, well, maybe although I know, like, whatever, no judgment about how she did it, but if she had made the decision for herself, even though that was so hard, she might have saved herself the heartbreak of the guy cheating on her. Or you can use self-honesty. So the self-honesty is the humbling experience of realizing that there's a part of you that doesn't actually want to change. So this is very honest when it comes to smoking for me. You're comfortable with your habits, with what you know, and you have a lot of fear that holds you back. You have many self-limiting beliefs, and you receive some sort of benefit from staying where you are. And you're unhappy because you want to be unhappy, or you're addicted to the situation, or you believe your pain is you, it's your story. And you see your resistance to letting it go. And only after reaching this level of self-honesty can you actually change. So I'm going to ask you right now, if you're feeling stuck, which of these do you identify with as your reason, right? Maybe you don't want to change. I don't want to stop smoking right now. I mean, I do, but I don't really. I will, by the way. I keep referring to it. I will. But right now, the truth is I don't want to change. Sometimes you don't know what you want. So what would you want if time, money, and people didn't limit you? Sometimes we don't know what we want because we're so wrapped up in what everyone else around us is saying. And we haven't even given ourselves a chance to like ask ourselves, okay, if money or we're so wrapped up in the details. Oh no, but that's going to cost too much money, or that's going to do this, or, this person will say that, or I don't have the time. Okay, well, if you did have the time and you did have the money and everyone was supporting you, what would you want? Another reason is your dream isn't big enough. I really love this one because it's like, what is your goal? And how can you make it so big that you will do anything to attain it? That's a really, really, really powerful way to trick your mind and to motivate yourself. Sometimes our goals are not big enough. And if you make them big enough and you really spend time in your head around, like for me with the smoking, maybe I'm like, okay, my goal is like, I'll be free. I won't have to go outside and sit in the heat and have a cigarette in the middle of the day. I won't have to leave a dinner and go have a cigarette. I'm like, oh, that sounds really freeing. I can be anywhere in the world and not feel like I don't need a cigarette, and then I'll continue. I've done this before. I've actually quit many times for like a year at a time, by the way. So I usually, and then I spend time in my mind, but the problem is I don't want to change right now. So, got to, but yeah, I'll make the dream and the benefits and the goals like way more big until a point I'm like, oh my God, I'll do anything to get that. You're letting fear be bigger than you. So you're letting fear dominate your life. And essentially what you're saying is you're willing to settle, because fear, which is a perception, you're letting that own you. And what I work with my clients is to get that fear will always be around, but it does not need to dominate our day, and it doesn't need to hold us back. And it can be 15% of our day to 20% of our lives. It does not need to be 80 or 100%, and it shouldn't be holding you back. You're attached to your problem. What would you talk about if you didn't have, some people, I know so many people like this, what would they talk about if they didn't have this problem? It's like, it's their thing. It's who they are. And they talk about, I know depression can sometimes do this to people. And I have a lot of respect for depression, a lot of respect for meds and all of that. But I see some people use their depression as like a crutch, and it makes them special. And they get to talk, and they are so attached to that problem of depression, and it's what they talk about, and their whole identity becomes depression. And I understand why, because it is debilitating. And I like so much love for that. But some people, and I'm not saying everyone does this, some people use it and they become attached to it, and it becomes everything that they are. You're benefiting from your problem. So how does it benefit you here not to change? So I have a bunch of benefits right now. One of my benefits of smoking is like, it's just something naughty that I get to do. You know, I just want something naughty to do. And so that's the benefit. I don't drink. So give me the cigarette for another 2 months. Okay. Okay, guys. Nice, Destiny. Yeah, that's a huge realization. Usually we always are. Fear. Thank you for answering, guys. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Kato. Yeah. Yeah, we attach. I mean, these are all things that we all do. And it's really powerful to recognize where we are with this. Okay. So we have 5 minutes left. I'm going to try, and we might go over. I know if people need to leave, I'll send you the recording. I want to just get into some of the action that I wanted to do. So probably your biggest reason for being stuck is your subconscious mind and your dick, which I call your deepest inner critic. And these two work hand in hand together. So really quickly, can you post in the chat how many people know about the subconscious mind and have an understanding of it, of how it works? Joe Dispenza's work, Bruce Lipton, there's lots of other people that talk about it. You can just say yes or no. Okay. Frank, mildly, yes. Okay, cool. Then I don't have to, I'm not going to go into too much. But essentially, yes, okay, I'm loving all of this. Okay, so we understand how there are beliefs that are imprinted in our subconscious mind that a lot of the time we're not aware of, or we could be aware of the beliefs, but they're so imprinted in the subconscious mind that they're perpetuating themselves. Okay. And so these are some ways to reprogram the subconscious and the unconscious mind. Meditation and visualization. So this is Dr. Joe and Bruce Lipton are really big on this. Meditation and going into a theta wave state gives you the opportunity to start training your mind to not live so dominantly in the conscious. And it opens portals to the quantum field and opportunities to let in quantum energy, where if you visualize from this place, your unconscious mind can't tell the difference between real and not real. So this is also why manifestation becomes so powerful when using this, because your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between, if I sit here and I can't have a memory of happiness that makes me really, really happy, a memory, I can conjure up happiness as an emotional state in my body. My mind doesn't go, oh no, that's not happening now, so that can't be real. I'm not going to let you feel happy. It doesn't know the difference. And I can do the same when I visualize for the future. Another way, and these are ways that I also coach, and this is part of my, like, there are quite a few ways to reprogram the subconscious mind, but I find these three things to be the most powerful, and I use them in my work. Inner child and inner critic work. So most of your beliefs sitting in the subconscious mind were gathered before you were 7. And doing inner child work looks like speaking to your inner critic and your belief system as if it was a child, and giving the child what it wanted at the time and speaking to it in a loving way. And then the last one is NLP, which is what I'm certified in. It's neuro-linguistic programming. And one of the goals is to bring about a full collaboration between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind so that they work together rather than stage a turf war. And I do this using time technique, which is where we go back along the timeline. There's something called the Ring of Power meditation, which is extremely powerful for cultivating personal power. Submodality work. You can change, submodalities are the ways that we picture things, and you can change things like colors. And I'm not going to go into it right now, but it's crazy shit. And Tony Robbins does a lot of that work. Okay, so we're going to do something in a bit. We're going to take action. Is everyone okay to stay? This is going to take like, this is like the action part. Do you have another 10 minutes? Is everyone okay with that? Cool. Okay, cool. Okay. So when dealing with disappointment, okay, usually what's happened is disappointment is always connected to an expectation hangover. You expected something in your life to happen and it didn't work out the way you thought it would. People, we have expectations of people and they do other things. And this causes an expectation hangover because we were so attached to the idea of how we thought this was going to happen. And when it doesn't happen the way that we think it should, it causes us a lot of pain. But one of the biggest issues around that pain is that we've attached meaning. So what we've done is like, for instance, my dream of being an actress and having my Oscar by the time I'm 30, or maybe not my Oscar, but at least being, in Hollywood, doing all the things. I made that mean that I would be successful. I'll know I'm successful when X and Y happens in my acting career. And so when that did not happen, because I'd made the meaning of me being successful contingent upon this expectation, when it didn't work out the way it was, the meaning that I'd attached to it worked against me, which was, that must mean that I am not worthy. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not successful enough. I must have done something wrong. We internalize the expectation hangover and the disappointment, and we make it mean a whole bunch of things about ourselves, that we're not good enough, when actually it's just an event that didn't happen, or it's an event that happened in a different way. That's all it was. It was just life happening in a different way. But we love to, and like we do this all the time. And I find this work so powerful because I've really mastered like taking the meaning out of things, or being smart and deciding to make it mean something that empowers me so that I have the motivation and everything to continue, Either I can make it mean nothing, or I can take it an extra step and make it work for me. Call me delusional, but it's working. No, it's not delusional. It's just empowerment work. And so we're asked when dealing with disappointment to be resilient, because it's very normal. We're going to feel disappointment in our lives. People will disappoint us. Situations will disappoint us. It's very hard not to have expectations, but the power of moving through and dealing with disappointment lies in how resilient you can be. How quickly can you change the meaning or take the meaning away? How quickly can you accept how things have worked out? And how quickly can you surrender to the universe? So we're going to do this really quickly now. And half of my picture, I'm just going to leave it like this. So I want you to answer just one of these right now in your journal. Just for the sake of this exercise, and I can say you can do the full one later, but is there something in your life that did not turn out the way you planned? And I want you to write that thing down. Or is there an aspect of your life that you would not enjoy, that you are not enjoying, even though you thought you would? Maybe your work. Is there someone in your life who let you down? Is there a relationship that has taken a direction that is upsetting you? Are you disappointed because of something you have not have done or not done? You know, I was disappointed that I self-sabotaged a lot. Do you regret a choice you made or an action you took? And did something that caught you off guard and has left you scrambling or disruptive? So just write this in you can just answer one of these things. The biggest thing that's really making you feel disappointed right now in your life. And you can write a little bit like the fact that my job is X, or this person did Y. Give it a good, not just 1 or 2 words, give it a good sentence, but you don't have to write a full paragraph. And now I want you to take that thing. We're going to talk about the spiritual solution of acceptance. So acceptance is the answer to all of your problems. Let me see you right now. If you can master acceptance as a spiritual tool and solution, you will really be upset for long about things. And the way I like to look at it is, that really helps me, is that when you're not accepting something, it is like standing in London with a map of Paris in your hands. And the universe has put you in London, but you are standing there with the map of Paris and you are saying, no, I'm in fucking Paris. I can't get around this stupid London place. Where's this road? Where's that? Like, not, you don't even know you're in London, by the way, because you're just so obsessed and you can't understand why the map that you're insisting is in your hands and you're holding in your hands is not getting you around. And you keep walking into doors and walking into walls, and the roads you want to go down or the doors you want to open are not there because you are so attached to your map of Paris. And the universe has put you in London for a reason. If you would just put the map down of Paris and just be like, oh, okay, I'm in London. Maybe London's not too bad. Shitty weather. I would rather be in Paris. Just joking. No, but I didn't choose London for that reason, right? By the way, you're in London and London's amazing, actually, if you would just accept it for what it is and stop insisting on being in Paris. So people, we cause so much stress for ourselves when we do not accept the way things are today. And it's almost delusional to not accept the way things are today because they are that way. And the sooner that you can just surrender and accept and get on board with the way the universe has created today, and knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be in the exact right place right now, all of us together right now on this call are exactly where we are meant to be, going through exactly what we are meant to be going through. And you cannot do any work on your situation, self, whatever, until you actually accept where you are. And extra points if you can feel a sense of relief. Like if you can put the map down and actually feel relieved. Oh gosh, I was trying so hard to get around this place. This place I thought was Paris, and it was causing me so much angst. And now if I just put the map down, I can accept. So I want you to write down, I am willing to accept that. And then I want you to fill in what you wrote in this exercise. So I'm willing to accept that my job sucks. or didn't work out. I'm willing to accept that I self-sabotaged for a lot of my 20s. I'm willing to accept that, gosh, there are so many things that are out of my control right now. I'm having visa issues in the States. And I mean, yeah, it's like, I'm willing to accept that. I don't want to, but I'm willing. And the key thing here is just being willing. If you can have a seed of willingness is another spiritual principle. If you can just be willing to do something and you hand over the rest to the universe will take that seed of willingness and will support you. You just need a seed. You don't need to do the thing. You just need to be willing. And then say, universe, God, higher power, higher self, whatever you believe in, I'm willing. Can you help me do the rest? So the last step of this is just to acknowledge, what have you made? I have made my failure, unhappiness, lack of fulfillment, lostness, confusion, dark night of the soul, whatever we've spoken about, whatever you're going through, mean. I have made this mean what about yourself? So losing your job, or someone who disappointed you by not showing up in a relationship. What have you made that mean about yourself? And you can write that down as well. And if you need help, you can pop through. We're almost done. I just wanted to pack a lot of value into this masterclass. I knew I was going to go over, but we'll definitely be done in 5 minutes. I just really wanted you guys to get a full experience and for it to be practical. And so often we listen to podcasts and books, and I go to masterclasses and webinars, and then I don't actually write anything down, or I don't go and do things afterwards. So I wanted you guys to really do the action on the call. So what have you made this mean about you? And then congrats. You have met your inner critic, your dick, and its favorite thing to say about you. Because our deepest disappointment and what we make that mean, like I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not capable, or that's its favorite. Whatever you just wrote down is probably one of its favorite things to say about you. And here I'm going to send this to you guys as well. I've got this. So this is the best way to consciously work to undo our conscious mind, is to catch your dick saying what it says. And usually it's negative or self-berating and it feels like crap. And that's how you know it's your dick. So this idea of I'm not good enough, because I feel like everyone just relates to that. The first question is this thought judgment true? Absolutely. i.e., is it true all the time? And all these questions are going to just disarm. They're going to take the power away from the perceived truth of what your dick is saying. It's just going to like chip away and disarm it. So is this true? This thought judgment true? Absolutely. Is it true all the time? Well, no, it's not true all the time. I'm good enough at cooking, or I'm good enough. Maybe there's a sport you play that you're good enough at. Maybe actually I'm like artsy, and I'm sure you can find one area of your life that you're good enough. Maybe you're a really good friend. Maybe you're a good enough friend. And if you notice, something cannot be true all the time. Cannot. It's impossible. So this should disarm it. Would everyone in the world agree with this thought judgment? This is also a great one. Would every single person on the planet agree that you're not good enough? I don't think so. I'll tell you now, I don't agree with it. So sorry for you. You can't say everyone would agree, because I don't agree. And I'm sure the Pope wouldn't agree. And if Mandela was still alive, he loves everyone. I'm sure he wouldn't agree. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who wouldn't agree. So no, the whole world can't agree with that. Or your parents, or I'm sure you can find someone. What am I making this mean about me? So we kind of did that step before. And is this belief, thought, judgment helpful? Is it conducive to me achieving my goals or dreams? And usually it's no. This is actually not helpful. This is not helpful. It's getting in the way of me achieving my dreams. And that disarms it a little bit. And then the last step here, when you're trying to reprogram your deck, is how can I see this differently? My favorite, what would love say in this situation? Or what would the universe say? What would my higher self say? What would love say? Love would say you're good enough. So I'm going to send this. I've got a really cool, just want to check the chat. We are pretty much, I love these. To go, no problem, Kylie. Think about what advice you give a friend if they were talking to themselves away. Exactly. Sometimes I'm such a dick. Yeah, I mean, it's a part of us. Okay. So I've got a few more slides, but I'm going to leave it. I use my coaching emotional freedom technique and tapping, and you can actually undo limiting beliefs through meridian lines. Again, just want to remind you about the gifts, guys. I'm going to save the chat and I will put everyone's name into a hat and draw the hat out to see who wins this. And as well for anyone who's posting me on and tagging me. And I'm going to send you this because I've gone a bit, we'll read through it really quick. How willing, going forward, I want you to consider how willing am I to believe that my dark night of the soul, the current situation, is actually my spiritual breakthrough and awakening, that I'm on my hero's journey and to accept that. How willing are you to believe that? How can I work daily to accept where I am, what I've done, and how my life currently is without making it mean something negative about me or God or the world? It just is. And how can I do the work daily to catch my dick so I can start wiring new neural pathways, because that's all that is, that will give me the belief that supports creating my new life that's in line with my spiritual breakthrough and awakening. So these are the things I want you to take forward into your life after this masterclass. And I'll send this to you, these questions in an email as well for everyone. And then, yeah, just really quickly, there's ways to get support if you're going through this. You can get a coach, a mentor, a support group, or a buddy. Follow only uplifting spiritual thought leaders on social media. Be really careful about what you are consuming during this time, because you need all the positive information and inspiration and motivation that you can get. And so that's why I've said the secret, you have to take action to drown out the darkness, negativity, and disappointment and replace it with positivity, light, and empowered information. You have to interrupt the neural pathways. When you hear your dick talking, you have to catch it and be like, oh, that was my dick. What would love say? Is this helpful? And you have to decide today. And then these are my, don't worry about this. And I've got a beautiful quote to end on, which is, when one door closes, another one opens. But we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the one which opened for us. And that's it, guys. Thank you for sticking around. I'm sorry I went a little bit over. I just wanted you guys to have the full experience of the journey. I'll probably make these an hour and a half in the future. Are there any questions? I am a coach. If you are if you've enjoyed today and you've enjoyed the way that I work and what I teach, and you want to receive support, or you want to embark on a 4-month coaching journey with me, reach out to me. Pop me an email. You know how to get hold of me. I just wanted to say that, because some people don't even think it's an option, or they didn't think about it. So if you're thinking about it, reach out to me. You can book a call. But otherwise, yeah, thank you guys. I can see all the thank yous. I'm so glad that just the last thing, what did you enjoy most? What was your biggest, type in the chat, like what was your biggest aha today? What was your biggest? Was it the hero's journey? What would Love say? Yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite. Oh, thanks, Kadles. Sometimes it just is. Yes. Yes. We're meaning making machines. Things are just things. Nothing is good nor bad. Only our thinking makes it so. It's another really good one. We're all figuring it out together. Yes, all of it was good. Becoming face to face at the end with my dick. Yes, with your eggplant emoji. I love that. Cool, guys. Okay. If there are no questions, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. You guys were amazing in the chat. Like, I wasn't expecting everyone to actually be so. Sometimes people are very shy. I'm so used to these spaces. I'm always sharing in the chat. I'm like, share. Also an actress. So I'm like so used to putting myself out there. And you guys have done amazing. Cool. I'm going to sign off. Well, you guys are welcome to go. I'm just going to write down. Sometimes the chat doesn't save. So I just want to make sure I write down everyone's names. And I'll do the drawing after this. I'm going to let you go. And I'll announce the winners of the prize. And email you or DM you. I'll get hold of you. I've got all of your emails and I'll announce it on there. Let's check. There's 2 more things here. Cool, guys. So much love from Sedona. Have an awesome day.